They called her ugly. No man wanted her. Then overnight, she became beautiful. Men fought to marry her, but every man who did disappeared. This is Adana's story, the girl who carried a gift and a curse. Let me show you what happened when beauty became a trap. In Dalani village, beauty was loud. Women walked with hips that swayed proudly. Their bodies filled their wrappers. When they laughed, men turned. When they passed, heads followed. Then there was Adana. She was the opposite of everything the village admired. Her body was thin, not slim, not delicate, thin like a broomstick. Her legs were straight and narrow. Her chest flat. Her waist so tiny, people joked that strong wind could lift her off the ground. She's not built, women whispered. She's unfinished, others laughed. When Adana walked through the village, conversations changed. See her coming. Which man will marry that one? Even hunger rejected her body. At the river, where women gathered every morning, the mockery was worse. Young girls would giggle and point. Adana, don't stand too close, one would say loudly. You might disappear, another would laugh. If she falls inside the river, will we even see her? Adana heard everything. She always did. She never replied, never insulted back, never cried in public. She would quietly fetch her water, balance the bucket on her head, and walk away while laughter followed her behind her like dust. She had no friends. Women didn't want her around. Men didn't want to be seen talking to her. Friend her, one man once scoffed. For what? Marriage? Another laughed. God forbid. Adana lived alone in her father's old mud house at the edge of the village. Both her parents were gone. At night, when the village was noisy with laughter and songs, her house stayed quiet. Too quiet. Sometimes Adana would sit outside, watching other women return home with their husbands, hearing children laugh behind walls that were not hers. But what the village did not know was this. Adana carried a secret her grandmother had told her on her deathbed. That night, her grandmother's voice was weak, her hands cold. Adana, she whispered, holding her tightly, you must remember this. Adana leaned closer. If any man marries you, the old woman said slowly, wealth will follow him, his life will rise. Adana's heart jumped. So I will be happy, she asked softly. Her grandmother shook her head. No, my child, wealth does not bring peace. Those were her grandmother's last words. Now, as Adana walked through the village carrying insults like invisible scars, she remembered them clearly. She knew what she carried, but she did not want men who came because of money. She did not want marriage built on greed. She wanted peace. She wanted love. She wanted someone who would choose her, not her gift. For now, she remained the girl everyone mocked, unwanted, unchosen, alone. Until one afternoon, she was spreading cassava in front of her house when someone stopped nearby. She looked up. A man stood there, not laughing, not staring, not mocking, just standing. Good afternoon, he said. Adana glanced behind her. Are you greeting me? She asked. He nodded. Yes. That alone was strange. His name was Kelechi, a simple man, a struggling man, someone the village hardly noticed either. He began to pass by more often. Sometimes he greeted her. Sometimes he stopped to talk. Sometimes he just sat quietly. He never mentioned her body, never joked, never rushed away. People noticed. Why is he always there? What does he want from that girl? Maybe he's desperate. Before long, they grew close. Kelechi listened to her. He reassured her. He made her laugh. For the first time in her life, Adana felt safe being herself. When Kelechi said he wanted to marry her, Adana cried. Marriage had always felt impossible to her. The village reacted immediately. Her? That girl? How? At the river, women whispered, "She must have used charm. There's no way a man would choose her willingly." Men laughed openly. "Kelechi has been tied. Someone should open his eyes." But Kelechi did not change his mind. They married quietly. No drums, no celebration. As Adana walked beside her husband, her heart was full. She was happy. Deeply, genuinely happy. For the first time, she believed she was chosen, not for wealth, not for beauty, but for who she was. For the first few weeks after the marriage, life stayed calm. Then things began to change. Work started coming to Kelechi from every direction. People who had never noticed his skill before suddenly needed him. Doors to fix, stoves to make, roofs to repair. Money flowed in easily. Too easily. Within weeks, his life transformed. His name carried respect. People greeted him differently. Even those who once mocked Adana now smiled at her. That was when the village began to understand. She carries a gift, they whispered. If you marry her, wealth will follow. Adana felt uneasy. This was not the life she prayed for. Then one evening, Kelechi went out to work and never came back. No quarrel, no warning. Night fell. Morning came. Adana waited. By the second day, people began to ask questions. Some said he traveled. Others said he ran away after tasting wealth. A few whispered darker things. No one saw him leave the village. No one heard from him. No body, no message, no trace. Kelechi vanished. And just like that, the happiness Adana had finally found dissolved into silence, leaving her alone again, surrounded by whispers, fear, and unanswered questions. After Kelechi disappeared, everything changed. Men who once passed Adana without greeting her now bowed their heads when they saw her. Some greeted her like royalty. Others spoke softly, carefully. Soon, men began to line up at her doorstep. One came with yams, another came with goats. Some brought money wrapped neatly in cloth. "If you choose me, you will never suffer again," they promised. "I will love you forever. I will stay." From a distance, women watched with anger burning in their eyes. How is it her? What does she have that we don't? Jealousy spread through the village like fire. Among all the men who came, one was more persistent than the others. His name was Okori. He came every day. He begged. He knelt. He promised heaven and earth. Adana was tired. Tired of the quiet nights. Tired of eating alone. Tired of pretending loneliness did not hurt. So she agreed. She married Okori. And just like before, wealth followed. His business expanded. Money came easily. His name became respected. But Okori did not wait for trouble. Once he tasted wealth, he changed. He stopped coming home early. He began to dress better. He started moving with other women, women with full bodies and loud laughter. One day, he left, and he never looked back. After him, others came. Adana married more men. Each time, the same thing happened. They married her, wealth followed them. Then they left her. Some quietly, some proudly. Some went on to marry beautiful women in neighboring villages. Some disappeared completely. Adana watched it all with a heavy heart. She understood the truth now. Men did not marry her because they loved her. They married her because of what followed her. And each time they left, the loneliness grew deeper. One afternoon, Adana went to the river later than usual. The sun was already leaning west. Most women had gone home. As she bent to scoop water, she noticed an old woman a few steps away, struggling at the edge of the river. Her wrapper was soaked. Her hands shook as she tried to lift her pot. People passed the old woman earlier. No one stopped. Adana did. She dropped her bucket and rushed to her. "Let me help you," she said softly. She steadied the pot, lifted it with care, and helped the old woman to a dry spot. The old woman watched her closely, not like someone surprised by kindness, but like someone confirming something she already knew. "Thank you, my child," the woman said, her voice calm and deep. Adana nodded. "It's nothing." The old woman reached into the bag she carried and brought out a string of waist beads. The beads were simple, woven with small cowries that caught the light strangely. "Take this," the old woman said, placing it gently in her palm. Adana hesitated. "For me?" The woman nodded. "When you wear it," she said, "your beauty will change. The world will see you differently." Adana's heart skipped. "But remember," the old woman added, her tone firm now, "do not remove it." Adana opened her mouth to ask more. Why? For how long? But when she looked up, the old woman was already walking away, slowly, steadily, until she blended into the crowd near the trees and disappeared. Adana stood there, the sound of the river filling the silence. Beauty? She had lived her whole life without it. Still, she wrapped the beads carefully in cloth and carried them home, unsure whether what she had just experienced was kindness or the beginning of something she did not yet understand. The next morning, Adana woke up to a strange stillness. She sat up and froze. Her body felt different. When she looked down, her breath caught in her throat. The thin frame she had lived with all her life was gone. In its place was a full, well-shaped body. Her skin glowed. Her face looked softer, brighter, alive. Adana rushed to the small mirror on the wall. She barely recognized herself. By the time she stepped outside, the village stopped. Women pounding yam froze mid-movement. Children stared openly. "Is that Adana?" someone whispered. Shock turned to jealousy. How did she change overnight? What did she do? Men followed her wherever she went. Greetings turned into proposals. Gifts filled her doorstep again. Adana married again. This time, the celebration was loud. People praised her beauty. They admired her new husband. And just like before, wealth followed quickly. His business grew. His name rose. At first, everyone believed luck had finally chosen her. Then, months later, things began to fall apart. Money disappeared. Work dried up. Friends vanished. Her husband lost everything. Another man married her after that. The same pattern followed. Wealth came, then it collapsed. One man was later seen begging in the market. Another vanished without explanation. Fear crept into the village. People whispered again, not about beauty this time, but about danger. "Something is wrong with her," someone said. "Nothing that comes near her lasts." Adana listened in silence. She was beautiful now, desired now, but peace was still far from her. And deep inside, she knew this change had come with a price she did not yet understand. By the time the village grew tired of whispering, Adana had already understood the truth. Every man who married her after her transformation followed the same path: rise, collapse, disappearance. She watched strong men lose everything. She watched pride turn to shame. She watched love turn to fear. That was when it became clear to her. The beauty she carried was not a blessing. It was a trap. Whatever changed her tied wealth to destruction, and anyone who bound himself to her would pay the price. Adana stopped sleeping peacefully. She began to fear marriage. She began to fear herself. Then one evening, as the sun dipped low and the village prepared for night, a familiar voice called her name. "Adana." She turned. Her heart stopped. It was Kichi. Thinner, older, but alive. Tears filled her eyes before words could form. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew you were alive." Kelechi held her hands tightly, as if afraid she would disappear. "I was taken," he said quietly. "One of the men who wanted to marry you for wealth kidnapped me. He thought if I was gone, he would have a chance." He told her everything. How he was dragged into the bush, how he was kept there for months, how kind villagers from another community found him and helped him escape. "He stayed away to protect my life," he said, "but I could not stay away forever." He looked at her the way he always had, not with desire, not with greed, with love. "I came back for you." Adana broke down. She cried like a child, because now she knew, if Kelechi stayed, the same fate would follow him. Wealth would come, then destruction, and she would rather lose beauty than lose him. Without another word, Adana turned and ran towards the river, towards the place where everything had begun. She needed to find the old woman, before the curse claimed the only man who had ever loved her truly. Adana ran until she reached the river, her breath heavy and her eyes filled with tears. She stood at the water's edge, shaking. "Mother," she called softly, "please." The wind moved gently through the trees, and the river flowed quietly, as if listening. Then the old woman appeared. She stood where the water met the sand, calm and unhurried. Adana fell to her knees. "My true love has returned," she cried. "The man who loved me before all this. If the curse touches him too, I will never forgive myself." The old woman looked at her with understanding. The waist beads were never meant to destroy love. They were given to punish greedy and selfish hearts, men who came to you only for what they could gain. Adana's tears fell freely. "I don't want beauty. I don't want wealth. I only want peace." The old woman nodded. "Then your suffering ends today." She pointed towards the river. "Throw the beads into the water. When you wake tomorrow, you will return to your true self." With trembling hands, Adana walked to the river and threw the waist beads into the flowing water. They sank immediately, disappearing beneath the surface. That night, Adana slept deeply. When morning came, she looked at herself and smiled. The beauty was gone. Her body returned to how it had always been. Her face was plain again, but her heart felt light. When Kelechi saw her, he did not hesitate. He held her hands and smiled. "This is the woman I love." They married quietly, without noise or celebration. They lived simply, without wealth that attracted greed, without beauty that invited destruction. And for the first time, Adana lived the life she had always prayed for, a life of peace. The moral of the story: never judge by appearance. The one rejected may carry hidden blessings. True love comes for the heart, and it stays. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and follow for more inspiring stories.